now spread to other districts of the state, triggering mob attacks in parts of Palwal, Faridabad and Gurugram. The most severe of them in the city's south, as houses and businesses of members of one community were targeted by another in Sona. The state was witness to a rampage that saw many vehicles being burnt, mostly in Sona and Nuh, and stones being pelted by mobs daring cops to stop them. A mosque in Gurugram was also set on fire and the imam killed, allegedly by a mob of 70 to 80 people. That's not all. Hundreds of families have left Gurugram Sona for safer places and internet stands suspended in the area. Bajrang Dal member Monu Manesar's name has cropped up at the center of these communal clashes that broke out during a Vishwa Hindu Parishat procession in Nuh, where 2 home guards were killed and more than 15 others have been injured, including several policemen. There were rumors that Monu Manesar, who was booked earlier for the murder of 2 Muslim men, Nasir and Junaid, whose charred bodies were found in the Bhiwani district in the month of February, be joining the procession. He allegedly announced the same on social media, and reports suggest that there were instigating posts and sloganeering that led to communal tensions between the 2 groups. As we look at Haryana burning, we ask, who is responsible for this flare-up? If it is not the police and the administration in the state, why was the preparedness for a yatra that is seeing its 4th year not foolproof? Why wasn't the bandobast better in Mewat from where it all began? How did the groundwork miss the stones that were kept gathered aside to be pelted on the procession? And why were the provocative slogans not gagged? And to top it all, when the Chief Minister of the state makes a suggestion in the middle of the still erupting tensions that all this is a part of a larger conspiracy, how responsible is that statement?
न केवल यात्रा पर बल्कि पुलिस के ऊपर भी उन लोगों ने किया, जिसके परिणाम स्वरूप यात्रा को भी भंग किया गया और बहुत से स्थानों पर आगजनी की घटनाएं हुई, गाड़ियां जला दी गई। निश्चित रूप से एक बड़े षड्यंत्र का कहीं ना कहीं हिस्सा लगता है।
किसी ने जहर घोला है, किसी ने इंजीनियरिंग की है, किसी ने मास्टरमाइंड किया है। जिस स्तर पे एंट्री पे भी पत्थर रखे हुए हैं, छतों पर भी पत्थर रखे हुए हैं, हथियार भी हैं, गोलियां भी हैं, एकदम तो सामने आते नहीं हैं।
सोशल मीडिया पे किस तरीके से ये 3 दिन पहले ये माहौल बनाया गया, किस तरीके से उकसाया गया सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से इलाके को पूरी तरह, और प्रशासन की क्या क्या जो कमियां रही हैं वो उनके बारे में भी कहा गया।
Let me take this across to my guests who join us this evening. Raman Malik, who's BJP leader, is with us on the broadcast. Garima Mehra, the Soni, who's a spokesperson of the Congress party, is with us. Also with us is Arvind Kumar Jain, who's the former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. And last but not the least, Hemant Atri, senior journalist, also joins us on the broadcast. Mr. Raman Malik, beginning with you. Very good evening to you, sir. What is happening in Haryana?
There has been certain incidents, and these incidents right now are being taken care of and they are being controlled. Once they are controlled, we will definitely be looking into who engineered them and who all were involved in creating this situation. As the reports available from various sources, the local MLA's involvement cannot be ruled out. Mr. Maman Khan or Mr. Aftab, they cannot be ruled out as per suggestions of local as well as other people on the ground. But this has to be investigated. These are very serious situations. We are looking into it. That is one part of it. The second is that this was with the similar.
Can I come in on your first part, sir, Mr. Malik? The fact that you are making these insinuations that the local MLA, namely Mr. Aftab or Mr. Khan, their involvement cannot be ruled out. On what grounds have you made these claims, sir?
Because a lot of local people had called up that they are, after this incident happened, they said that for last few days they had been giving statements which were not very conducive to maintain law and order, but to provocate people. But then this has to be verified, and this must be verified because they are respectable members of the Haryana Assembly. They must be verified, and one should not just accept that they are complicit in it, but then it should not be also ruled out because one of the statements which was which caught eye was that people said that indirectly the message was spread that Nuh would become the new Godra. So that kind of a statement is very scary, and that has to be looked into. If somebody is playing a trick, then it must be also that fellow should also be arrested.
Okay.
But then if that has happened, it must be looked into, and I am very sure that nobody, I must say, who is involved in this would be spared. There is a lot of gifts that await them, whether it is the bulldozers or other thing, they will all be waiting for them. They are being identified. Also, one must not forget that the pattern in which Delhi, February 2021 riots happened, or whether it was the last week the riots in Delhi with the processions happened, or this one, the pattern was same. The houses, the rooftops had stones, there were weapons available, there were masses which were accumulated, and it was well organized. So which again,
Mr. Malik, allow me to say that I am kind of appalled that you're making these statements in a very, very flat sort of a faced way, where you're saying that the bulldozers await them. Who's them? You are making a very, very communal comment that is actually targeting one community, and it is very, very apparent here. I would let me actually bring in Mr. No. It is a very irresponsible statement that has been made. You do understand that there are two groups who are being involved. You very well know, sir. Nuh is a Muslim-dominated area. It is a Muslim, and when you talk about instigation, sir, Mr. Malik, when you talk about instigation, have the instigations not come in from social media, not come in from the VHP procession where the sloganeering was done? Do we not look at both the sides?
Let's understand.
Okay, I will give you the time to respond to this. Let me actually bring in Hemant Attri first. Hemant, all these claims that have been made by the BJP here, by a member of the BJP, that there was instigation. Of course, we have ground reports that there were stones that were kept on rooftops. Don't you think it's the police and the administration that is completely at failure here, rather than one group that can be actually just spoken about in this case?
Griyaji, I am in 100% agreement with you on whatever you have said. See, whatever has happened in Nuh, it is one of the most unfortunate instances. What is the Chief Minister saying? He is saying it's a pre-planned conspiracy. My question, once the administration and the government were clear that there are certain things, there can be a violence, why were no preemptive steps were taken?
Yeah.
What was the administration doing? Number one, it was a classic case of intelligence failure, administrative failure. You tell me one thing. There was a gentleman called Monu Manesa. How this whole started, I was looking into your report. Your reporter was reporting from ground zero. There is a gentleman called Monu Manesa, who is a so-called Gorakshak. None other than Prime Minister himself has barred these Gorakshaks, so-called Gorakshaks. You tell me one thing. He issues a statement 3 days back. And what he says, all of you come there, and we all are coming there. The whole episode started from there, right? This is the genesis of it.
Why?
The gentleman.
Let him make his point. Let him complete his point. Let him complete his point, Mr. Malik.
Please.
No, one second, Mr. Malik. Let him complete his point. You can come and interject once he's completed his point. Once he's completed his point, sir. Please.
His constitutional right comes once I complete, not before that.
Yeah.
Now, this gentleman gives a clarion call to everybody. Of course, he is very well within his rights to invite his people from his community. There is no confusion. But was the Nuh administration, was the local police, was the intelligence agency not aware what his arrival can cause? The whole thing simmered up from there. Now, The local administration was not following all these Facebook posts, whatever they were going on social media. Nobody followed that. The issue became the gentleman never came. That is a standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
And what happened is all to see. Now, I would ask one thing. This, as you rightly pointed out, just 6 months back, 2 youths were burnt alive. Burnt alive. This gentleman is still, at large. How dare he issue such a statement and he is still scot-free? Now the issue is the government, the chief minister, and see what the home minister was saying. He was saying that there is a larger conspiracy. You please tell me what for the government administration is. They are there to preempt such conspiracies.
Yes.
They are there to take land order before it arises. They are working out once the situation has happened and damage has already been done. My simple question is, have you ever seen Mewat from 1991 till date in such a communal clash? The answer is no. Why? Despite all those provocations in last 9 to 10 years, whatever have been done, in the name of Goraksha, what they do every day, day in and day out. You tell me, the local administration is there, police is there, Goraksha Kanun is there. Who these gentlemen are, who are there to take care of this Goraksha part? Who are they? They are the illegals, but I don't have any name for them. But they are the crooks who take land order into the thing, and they have a patronage of a particular political outfit as well as their supporters all across in the powers that be. Now, first thing is, what is Goraksha doing? Government is there, administration took care, law should take its own course.
What is all of this?
Number
Are we
two.
debating about new violence or are
No,
we
we are debating about new violence only, and this is an important aspect that needs to be debated. Mr. Malik, where is Monu Mane, sir?
Since
No, Mr. Malik.
1947,
Mr.
all
Malik,
this
tell
has
me.
happened because of this Monu Mane, sir.
No, where is Monu Mane, sir? Don't you think that it
No,
all
what-
started with
that
that?
is for Rajasthan
And I am
police to find
why?
That is what
Why,
Rajasthan
sir?
police to
Why?
find out.
I want to understand why, sir.
Incompetence of Rajasthan police cannot be put onto us.
This incident happened in Haryana, and there was an alleged
No.
message that was posted on
He
social
is-
media, which is going
he
viral
is
of Monu
questioned
Mane, sir.
by
Where is he?
Rajasthan police, not by Haryana police.
Grihaji, let me
The
complete.
case is in
Okay.
Rajasthan, not in Haryana. The police of
Let me just-
Rajasthan wants him, not Haryana police. Number one.
Let me
Number
just-
two, one must understand. The right, if it was only Monu Mane, sir, why were women
Mr.
targeted?
Malik, you
Why
are clearly
was cyber
putting it
police
on
targeted?
record.
Why-
Mr. Malik, you're clearly putting on
Why was the
record
cyber
that
police
whatever has
targeted?
happened in Haryana
Why was
is
looting
not a
happened?
problem of the Haryana
No.
government. The Rajasthan
No.
government needs to look at it.
Please
You have to
listen.
also understand that
Please
whatever
listen.
happened
No,
in
no, no,
Bhiwani,
no, no, no,
Mr.
no.
Malik,
I
one
would
second,
not like-
one second,
I would
one
not-
second. No,
I would not
this is
accept
my
you
debate.
twisting
This is my debate.
No.
I have the right to
No.
ask the question. So please answer the
No.
questions that I am
You cannot
asking you.
twist it.
If
You should
why
not
should I know?
twist it.
You have come on the debate. You're supposed to be answering some tough questions. Why are you getting all
There,
rattled?
you are
February,
twisting
it
the
has
whole
happened.
thing.
No, I'm not. In
No.
February, the incident happened in Bhiwani. The person who's responsible for the charred bodies of Junaid and Nasir is still
They have
absconding.
already been charge sheeted.
No, where is Monu Mane, sir? Where is Monu Mane, sir? What you are doing
First
is you
he
are
was
saying
exonerated
that
out of it.
the Congress
Was he not
MLAs
first
from one
exonerated
second.
out of the charge sheet?
One second,
First,
no.
he was
Mr.
exonerated
Malik,
out of the charge sheet.
Mist-
Later on, there was some afterthought and whatever happened. Then it is the Rajasthan
What
police who
afterthought,
has to
sir?
do it. But my larger question here is, were the women and children also Monu Mane, sir? Was the PS cybercrime Nuh also Monu Mane, sir? Why were they attacked? Why were shops looted?
Yeah,
There
that's
are
the question
bigger
that we
questions.
have also
And if he was not there,
posted through this
If
debate,
he was
sir.
not there,
That
why
is the
attack
question that
people?
we have also posted through this debate. But you are trying to just set aside that one crucial aspect that is also responsible for the flare-up in Haryana, which is
Madam,
what is
if he was
unfortunate.
there-
One second, let me
if he
actually
was
give the
there
other
in the
speakers a chance.
procession-
Mr. Malik,
if
you
he
will get
was
your
there
chance
in
to
the
speak now.
procession, that
One
was
second.
a different case. But
VHP,
since he's not there in
VHP
the
asked him not to
procession,
join.
I would like
VHP
to know
asked him not to
the
join after the
cyber
flare-up. He was
police
not joining.
station
Miss
and
Garima,
the
coming to
cyber
you
police
now.
station
Raman
and
Malik,
women
you
and
made your
children
point.
were they Monu
Garima,
Mane,
coming to you.
are
There was a
running
point
away.
that Raman Malik made in the beginning that the Congress MLAs from Mewat are the people who are in cahoots with the violence that has erupted from this place and now spread into various other districts of Haryana. How do you respond? Garima.
See, Raman Malik first have to understand that he cannot dominate the debate like this. Just because their party is in power, that doesn't mean that you will, overpower other people. And thank you so much for showing him his place, because his statements are quite
No,
instigating.
there's no showing places, madam. We are just presenting facts here. So let's not put words
rightly
in
said,
other people's.
rightly
Yeah.
said,
So
because
please make your
whatever-
point, ma'am. Please make your point.
whatever Raman Malik said here was quite instigating in itself. Like they don't intend to establish peace and harmony in the state, it seems, because look at the CM's statements. I would suggest making use of your channel to Manohar Lal Khattar ji, that open your mouth in such a grave situation in a very sensible and sensitive manner. Whatever he's
And
saying
what did
is,
your MLA
is
do
sending
in the
wrong
assembly?
I
connotations.
request you to
Open
not
direct
Sending
speak
wrong
when other
connotations.
speakers are
Just
speaking.
a
Madam,
second,
please
Mr.
ask
Malik.
her.
There are
Mr.
other people
Malik,
in the panel also.
Mr. Malik,
And other
I
people
would
also
please
know how to
request
speak.
you
Other
to
people
not
also have
speak
views.
when the other people are
India
speaking.
is
You
not
have
only
got your
BJP.
chance.
India
Please,
is
sir.
everybody. You
Yes.
got to listen to the
Yes,
opposition
Garima, please
also.
complete your point. Garima.
Mr. Malik,
Well,
you can't
also
hackle
please
people
do
like this all the
answer
time.
this.
Mr.
When
Malik,
your
unfortunately,
MLA
I'll have to
comes
just
to
reduce your
the
mic
assembly
volume. We
and
want it to be
threatens,
like that.
what
This is
that?
not the way
Allow
how
me,
I conduct
please.
debates here.
Allow me,
Please wait
please,
for your
Mr.
time,
Malik.
sir. Please wait for your time. Note down your points. You will get your time to interject each and every speaker. But please don't speak when others are speaking. I request you, sir. It's not a cacophony over here. Garima, please go ahead.
See, first of all, why the meeting between Manohar Lal Khattar and Anil Vij after 24 hours of the riots? Why? What were they doing? Were they sleeping all this long? And secondly, it is completely an administrative failure. It is the responsibility of Anil Vij, and ethically he should step down as a minister with immediate effect, because his statement is that there are some people who's trying to disrupt the peace and harmony in Haryana. If that is the case, sir, it is a total government's failure. What were your intelligence doing? What was your LIU doing? So come on, be magnanimous enough to come openly and accept your
So when the riots
failures.
happen in
Mr. Malik,
Rajasthan,
why are you acting like a repeat offender, sir? Please wait for your turn. I would request you
if
again
she's
and
going
again.
to lie, I'm going to
Please.
entertain.
No. You do that when I give you the time to speak.
Is
sir.
it your
Please.
interview going on, Mr.
Garima,
Raman Malik? Is it your
Garima.
interview or a debate where
Garima,
everybody
please
has to
don't engage
participate?
with one speaker. I would also request you to do that. Garima, I had
I
asked
very
you a
well know
simple question.
how to handle the goons of
Garima,
Congress. So I don't have a
Garima,
problem.
I asked you that there was an accusation that was leveled by the member of the BJP against the two Congress MLAs who belong to the Mewat area. And they are...
No, that is what I'm
So
saying.
that's what I want to
That
understand.
before-
Garima, let me complete my question. I want to understand that there was a VHP procession that was planned. This is the fourth time that it is happening, and it was supposed to move into the Mewat region, cross the Nuh area. There were stones that were waiting, gathered on rooftops to be pelted at that entire procession. Why do you think that was allowed? It's good to question the police and the administration. We ourselves are doing that, and that's an important question, and that's a huge lapse on part of the administration and the police. But when it comes to the governance in that area, and if at all there are accusatory fingers that are leveled at the MLAs from that area, which are members of the Congress party, by the way, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. My MLA has already given the statement that the administration has failed in its duty to prevent these clashes and riots, despite being informed of the provocative and hateful videos since 3 days. Aftab Ahmed states categorically that we have been telling the police, we have been informing the administration about the instigating video, and also I'm telling you, I'm just quoting the ACS, that is the additional Chief Secretary Home, TVS and Prasad, who says the disruption of public utilities, damages to public assets and amenities, disturbance of public law and order on account of misuse of internet services by way of spread of inflammatory material and false rumors. This is what the additional Chief Secretary has to say. Now, who has spread the rumors? The million-dollar question is that the additional Chief Secretary should also come out in open and say that Manu Manesar and his associates were the one who openly were challenging the people of Haryana that we will be present there in person in Mewat. And they were challenging, and there were derogatory remarks to the minorities. So the
Garima, you are
instigation
essentially saying that
on
the
their part.
information of the inflammatory comments on social media, the administration, especially the police in that area, was made aware, and yet nothing was done about probably preemptive measures that needed to be taken, for law and order. Let me bring in Mr. Arvind Kumar Jain on this. Mr. Arvind, you know, you've handled situations like this in the state of Uttar Pradesh. What you see happening in Haryana, accusatory fingers at the police, and the fact that there was a complete lack of law and order, and at least, bringing some semblance of law and order back into the state of Haryana, it is actually now spilled onto other districts. That's how bad the situation is, and it still continues to be that. A mosque has recently been burnt down. We are getting to know that the imam has also been killed by a mob of 70 people. All of these reports are really coming down to what is the police really doing, and how do you see the role of the police in what has happened?
Firstly, you are not very much audible, but whatever I could gather, I can say two aspects are there in my opinion. Number one, attack of the local people on cyber police station. You must be aware that 200 parties had been formed to catch these cyber criminals, because Nuh was emerging as another Jantara. So I think the purpose was to destroy the record there, to destroy the police station, and that is why it was ransacked. Number two, in my opinion, there has been a terrible failure on the part of Nuh police and administration to control the riot. It was their duty to deploy force in such a manner. At times, when such situation is there, we used to make box type formation. Force in the front, force in the back side, and on the right and left flanks. Drones should have been deployed, and search should have been taken of the rooftops on way of the procession. I think it was not done. That is why stone pelting was taking place at that point, and it was being done openly. Weapons were also there. When box formation is there and police is deployed, they are given orders that no provocative slogans should be allowed.
Yes.
No shouting of slogans near the religious place of the other community. All these things are observed, and in my opinion, when Monu Manesar, whose activities are very well known throughout the country, when he gave the call that he is coming to attend the procession, Nuh administration, Haryana police should have been on alert. The security should have been beefed up, and if necessary, his entry should have been barred from entering Nuh and being a part of the procession. Had it been done, I think there would not have been any trouble. His name was there that he is coming and he will instigate the crowd, and he will create some trouble because he is hated by a certain community which is very well known. Then effective steps, in my opinion, should have been taken by Nuh police, by Haryana police, and a strong contingent of force should have been there. And had it been there, I don't think there would have been so much of problem. Minor stone pelting can take place, but it can be taken care of by police well in time. It was not done.
And it wouldn't have spilled on to the other districts is what you're saying. Mr. Malik, now is your turn to respond. What explains this laxity, sir?
I would like to answer certain things. First of all, the open threats that Mr. Maman Khan had given in the Haryana Vidhan Sabha are well documented and videographed.
Please quote from the threats, sir.
They are not.
Please quote that.
That if any time Monu Manesar happens to go through Mewat, he will be treated, and everybody along will be treated in a certain manner. Those videos are very well available on the social media also. Then, secondly, one must understand, if you are talking about Monu Manesar anger, then you have to understand both the things. One, he did not come into the procession, he was not there. Second, why are they having an issue with Monu Manesar? It is because of the cow smugglers and the illegal butchers and the people who eat cow meat, and they have a problem with him.
No, when it is
So
about
those two-
Haryana
both the
government's
angles have to be
anti-cow
looked into.
smuggling act, why is
I
Monu
need to come in,
Manesar
please.
headlining the
Reha,
law,
I
sir?
need to come in
Please,
here.
please let me
Reha, I
finish.
need
Why
to
is
come in
Monu
here.
why is Monu
Let me finish
Manesar
now.
headlining
Please allow
it,
me.
sir?
I
Let
need
me
to come here.
finish. Let me finish.
Isn't he a
I need to
murderer?
come in here, Griha.
I will give you the
thirdly,
chance,
what are you going to
Garima.
do? What are you going to do about the videos which say that if the CIA police officers come into your village, hackle them, kill them, beat them, break their legs, and they are people who are
Who has said that?
actively involved in conversing and in help of these two MLAs.
Who has said that?
Also, there are videos which can be easily found on the social media. If you do not have, I will give it to you. Then there were cylinders kept in the road a night before, stating that if it comes, we know how to blow them and make them into bombs. Now those videos are also available.
Why
So
did the police
everything
not
is
do
being-
anything about that? When the videos
everything
were
is being
available,
investigated.
why did the, like Mr.
every
Jain
angle,
mentioned,
every angle is being
no,
investigated.
what is the investigation going to do, considering the violence had now spread into other districts, sir? Obviously, there
We
is a
are
process,
taking
there
care.
is
We
going
have
to be an
already-
investigation. There will be an
have
investigation.
already-
Why wasn't
There
it
was
stopped?
not-
Why
see,
was
where
no
you're mentioning-
preemptive
The
step
man-
the
really
place that
taken?
you're mentioning,
I need to-
the place that you're mentioning
I
in
need to come in,
Gurugram, the
Okay.
place that you're mentioning
Garima.
in Gurugram,
Garima.
that happens to
See,
be
Mr.
just half a kilometer away from my home, and I know there were not 70 people. Those 6-7 people who did that, who were prima facie accused in that, they've been already arrested and detained. So
But
it
the
is
state
not that
chief
those
minister
things are
has
not
said that
happening.
there are 77 FIRs that have been registered so far in this particular case.
Across
I mean,
Not in
how can you
Gurgaon
make
only.
blank? No. Yeah, I understand that, sir. But how can you make blanket statements that 7 log the, 70 log nahi the? I don't know what purpose will it solve.
It's half a kilometer from my
Garima.
house.
Garima.
It's half a
Garima,
kilometer
please
from my
come.
house. I rushed there.
Okay.
See, Raman
I've seen
Malik
that.
Okay.
speaking.
I'm very sure on that.
Raman Malik,
Listen, Garima.
Raman Malik speaking and standing in favor of Monu Manesar talks about it all. Monu Manesar.
You standing in front of Rahul Gandhi.
Several
Well,
criminal
for Rahul
cases.
Gandhi and
Monu
Let's not
Suman,
digress.
that's
Manesar
also
Let's not
criminal.
digress.
in
It's now her
Haryana.
turn.
Monu Manesar is a suspect of several criminal cases, and Raman Malik standing by him, beside him, or for him
I am
tells
standing
it all.
by the Constitution. Where did I stand with Monu Manesar?
And the local people, let me correct you, sir. The local people claim to have seen Monu Manesar in Mewat. Local people are claiming to have seen Monu Manesar
I
in
think
the
the
procession in
organizer
Mewat.
as well as them,
And
they both have
the geographical
that would be only
position,
visible after
the
the
geographical
investigation happens.
position of Gurugram is such that it is close to the Delhi NCR, it is close to Rajasthan, it is close to the Delhi-Bombay highway. So it is going to send a very, very wrong message if we don't curb it here, if we don't curtail it
Garima,
here, if we are not
your
able
people
to
wanted
administer.
to make Nuh
See
into
what
a
you made out
Godra
of Manipur.
and
What you made
create
out of
a
Manipur.
situation
Here,
which would
Reha,
benefit
here
you.
Now is the time that I come in here.
That is
I would like
the
to
bottom
thank all my
line.
guests because
That
this
is
will
what
not
seems
go
to be
anywhere.
the
This is a shouting
Reha.
match. That is what it's
Reha,
become.
listen.
Garima,
The
Garima, thank you so much for making that point. And Mr. Malik, thank you so much. What is happening over here is that the BJP is saying that Monu Manesar right now is the responsibility of the Rajasthan government. And that shouldn't be one cause of concern when it is about the rage, the problems that have erupted in the state of Haryana. However, the Congress claims that he was seen in Haryana, in Mewat, in Nuh, and there is no truth or whatever. There is no support to that entire argument. How is that one person really the fulcrum of this entire controversy is something that we'd have to wait and watch for it to unfold. But what it has led to is several communal clashes that have erupted, that started in Nuh and that have now spilled out to the various other districts of Haryana, and it still continues to burn. And that needs to be the important question that we need to ask ourselves. We leave it at that. I'd like to thank all my guests for joining me. I'm slipping into a very, very short break. But on the other side, the finance department in Karnataka has said no funds to implement Griha Lakshmi scheme. The government still goes ahead with the implementation. More on that on the other side.
Co-powered by instructing the court with regards to the bifurcation of the FIRs, how investigation has to be carried out. But the observations that have come in from the Chief Justice of India today are something that is very, very troublesome. In fact, the Chief Justice of India has gone on to say today that there was for 2 months in the state of Manipur, there was a complete breakdown of the law and order situation. There was no law and order there, and the state machinery has completely failed in to actually protect the people of Manipur. In fact, it was also deliberating as to how can the investigation in these more than 6,000 FIRs that have been registered in this with relation to this violence be investigated, because all the 6,000 FIRs cannot in fact be entrusted to the CBI, because CBI handles only premier cases, and if at all CBI would be given all these 6,000 FIRs, the CBI itself will break down in investigating all of them. So that mechanism is being devised now. Apart from that, what has also been the concern of the court is with regards to the identification of the dead bodies, for which the court has asked the Solicitor General to come back on Monday. And very, very crucially, the Supreme Court has held that the investigations that have been conducted so far are very, very tardy, slow, and in fact few or no arrests have been made in these cases. And in fact, people of Manipur have lost their faith is something that the CJI could hint at. But on Monday, when the Supreme Court again sits back to hear this particular matter, the DGP of Manipur will be present in the court. He will have to appear before, in fact, the Chief Justice of India's court to actually assist the court with regards to the situation there, with regards to how things can be brought back to normal. And in fact, the Supreme Court is also mulling on to actually create committee headed by former judges of the High Court. So all of this would be a very, very important and crucial hearing on Monday, where Supreme Court could be seen figuring out, or somewhere or the other drawing a mechanism as to how things in Manipur can actually be improved.
Yeah, very strong words, as we pointed out, Ananya, coming in as far as the top court is concerned, and that hearing on Monday is also going to be extremely crucial. I just want to go back to what we heard from the Supreme Court even yesterday, and I want to understand whether there was any development on those lines. Yesterday also we heard from the top court that yes, immediate justice for these victims is needed, but what about a larger mechanism in place to ensure that there is not the kind of inaction that we saw by authorities on the ground? Was there any development on those lines today?
Well, there were certain, important observations that were made by the Chief Justice of India, and I'll take you through all of those observations that were there. In fact, the Chief Justice clearly saying that, there is a complete breakage of the law and order situation, and he also said that it appears that except for 1 or 2 cases, there is no arrest at all. Look at the way investigation is so lethargic. The FIRs registered after 2 months, arrests have not been made, statements not recorded. For 2 months, the situation was not even conducive for recording FIRs. In fact, the court was of the view that, it is so difficult even for the Manipur police to enter certain areas and to make arrests. So, and he goes on to say that, it gives us an impression that from beginning of May till July so far, there was no law and order. There was a complete breakdown of the constitutional machinery in the state. You're right that the police could not make arrest cause. That does not point out to the fact that there is a complete failure and breakdown of the law and order machinery in the state, is what the Chief Justice of India said. On Monday, when the court comes back, there would be crucial aspects being discussed. Number one, and the foremost and the most important question that would be answered is as to who will be investigating these 6,000 FIRs that are registered, whether the Manipur police would be allowed to do so or not, whether there would be certain kind of a mechanism, there would be a monitored probe or not. All of this would be answered on Monday, whether the Supreme Court would actually be forming a committee. All these questions boil down to Monday, when the Supreme Court, the 3 judges bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, actually comes back, and the DGP is also present along with the Solicitor General and the Attorney General of the country.
Ananya, I'm just going back to some of the details that you were pointing out a short while ago, which is again what the CJI has said, where he said, we may think of forming a committee comprising of former High Court judges, remit the committee rehabilitation measures, supervise the work to ensure that the process pre-investigation is fair. As far as the formation of this committee is concerned, do we have any more direction or details?
Well, these committees have not been formed, but the Supreme Court is mulling upon doing so. It is discussing the options of retired High Court judges. It would be also looking into women, judges to actually come up, because there are cases of, sexual assault. There are cases of crime against women, and that's the reason why, in fact, Supreme Court would also want some woman to actually come into the picture and to actually go on and be a part of this investigation or this committee that would be carrying out and rehabilitating the people of Manipur.
Ananya, I also want to understand, in terms of the clear lapses that the CJ and the top court felt that has happened in part of the state government, could you list those lapses as well? Because as I pointed out, they already pointed out to the fact that there was delay in the first action, which was filing of FIR. So have they listed any terms of lapses that they feel that has already occurred on part of the state authorities?
Well, in fact, definitely. The court has, in its order itself, has recorded that prima facie it appears that the investigations that have been carried out in in these 6,000 FIRs is something that is very, very lethargic. The Supreme Court has also stated that the FIRs have been filed or very late, in fact.
Welcome back. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Griha. Now, Congress's poll promises ahead of Karnataka elections in May this year are back in the discourse. This time, as the state's finance department has thrown a wrench into the works of the newly formed government. The Congress had promised 2,000 per month to housewife in every household if the party emerged victorious in the state assembly polls. The finance department has now informed the Siddaramaiah government that the Gru Lakshmi scheme would be difficult to implement due to financial constraints during the current financial year. In fact, CNN News18 has accessed the letter stating that the scheme might pose a risk of pushing the state towards a considerable revenue deficit. Although, despite this warning, the Congress government in Karnataka has still given the green signal and declared its intent to proceed with the scheme. And as a response, the BJP has launched a scathing attack on the Siddaramaiah administration, accusing Congress over lack of funds for development of the state, but having the money to splurge on a Rajiv Gandhi statue. Prime Minister Modi also criticized the Congress government, blaming their freebie promises for what he's termed as crisis faced by Karnataka. Interestingly, these developments have occurred right after 11 Congress MLAs expressed concerns to the Chief Minister, Mr. Siddaramaiah, about the lack of cooperation from the ministers. In fact, Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar, has even acknowledged the scarcity of funds, stating that a significant portion had to be allocated to fulfill Congress's election promises.
Coming to the point of discipline on the matter of finances, who is talking about discipline on the finances? The BJP is the one who pushed the state of Karnataka for a borrowing loan of more than 2.6 lakh crores. And moreover, to be very, very frank, when they were in the election year and they know that they are going for election, why did they give approval for so many projects more than 2 lakh crores?
एक तरफ महाराष्ट्र में हम चौतरफा विकास होते देख रहे हैं, वहीं दूसरी तरफ पड़ोसी राज्य कर्नाटका में जो हो रहा है वो भी हमारे सामने है।
Let me first begin by talking about the new guidelines that the Congress government in Karnataka has now issued over the Gru Lakshmi scheme. Let's take a look at who are stand eligible as part of the scheme at the moment. So the first point that we want to bring to your notice is that the women who are Antodayas, or in fact the lowest people on the lowest part of the denominator, or above poverty line people, families, the below poverty line families, all of them stand eligible. If we look at the people who have been excluded from this list, even if they come from ABL or BPL families, are government employees and taxpayers specifically. Next, we also understand that people who are eligible must be identified as Yajamani, or the head of the family. So a woman needs to be declared as the head of the family. Only then can she be part of this exclusive guarantee. Those excluded are husbands or sons paying income tax returns. So that is another aspect that has been brought to fore. Also, people who are eligible must be identified later. If we take a look at the next point, in fact, this is also to do with the fact that people who are going ahead and paying taxes will not be part of this particular scheme. And as mentioned, there is no provision for a new female head that's been mentioned. In fact, going forward, if we take a look at what are the 5 poll guarantees that have in fact been presented and made, the promises that have been made by the Congress party ahead of the assembly elections, and what is the cost that is going to be on the state exchequer, let's break down those points one by one. The first one is, of course, the Gru Lakshmi scheme that we are talking about. This would end up costing the state exchequer 31,200 crore rupees annually. So this is, of course, 2,000 rupees per month to women heads of the family. Next up is the Gru Jyoti scheme, which will end up costing the exchequer 5,460 crores annually. And this is giving 200 units of free power to the families in Karnataka. Third is the Anna Bhagya scheme, will end up costing the exchequer 4,500 crore rupees, which is free 10 kgs of rice to all the below poverty line families in the state, something which the Karnataka government in the state had seen a huge furore about just a short while back, and all of these allegations coming by the Bharatiya Janata Party, the opposition in the state. The fourth one is the Uchita Prayana, that scheme where it will cost 2,464 crore rupees, so 2,464 crore rupees to the exchequer, which is free bus travel for women in the state of Karnataka. Fifth, of course, is the Yuva Nidhi. That scheme is going to end up costing the exchequer 1,350 crore rupees, which is 3,000 rupees per month to unemployed graduates in the state of Karnataka. So that is how we are looking at the kind of 5 guarantees. What is it going to actually cost as far as total? Is the total annual cost, if we look at, is 44,974 crore rupees that the state government needs to come up with to go ahead and fulfill all of these promises that have been made. Let me now open this up to my guests who are joining us on the broadcast. Mohan Vishwa of the BJP is with us. Aishwarya Mahadev of the Congress Party is with us. T.R. Prasad Gaura of the JDS is also with us. And last but not the least, Professor Arun Kumar, who is an economist, also is with us on the broadcast. Aishwarya, let me begin with you, the only lady on the panel. The fact that there are so many accusations against the Congress-led government in Karnataka, how is Congress deciding to fulfill this kind of a backlog and this huge amount that it is in fact going to be costing the state exchequer if we look at all the 5 guarantees, of course talking about this particular scheme, the Gru Jyoti, the Gru Lakshmi scheme?
Good evening, Reha. I think the BJP is taking their job as the opposition so seriously that none of their leaders, including the Prime Minister, will comment on what is happening in Haryana or Manipur or in trains of this country, but have enough gumption to sit and talk about what is happening in my state. If I may be uninterrupted when I complete this, I will tell you 2 very important things. The entire world, or rather the country and the economists and the BJP, applauded when 1 lakh crores was waved away for some of the largest corporate industrialists under the guise of saying there will be a trickle down and you will restart the economy, which was a huge fallacy, and it helped nobody and no money went down anywhere. They looked to pay off their liabilities, and that is the only thing that happened. When the Karnataka Congress formulated this plan, and I can give you the intention behind each one of these 5 plans, it was to basically help the poor, the middle class, and the struggling communities, whether it was with unemployment, whether it was price rise, whether it was inflation. Because as my chief minister rightly stated in his budget speech, the fact is the poorest of the poor still account for 60 to 65% of actually paying taxes in the form of when they consume commodities, and we wanted to ease this for them. What has happened today, and the BJP can say all that they have to, is the entire budget size is more than 3 lakh crores is the budget size of Karnataka. Your 44,000 crores in terms of the guarantees are only seeing basic tiny hiccups in the beginning, because of the fact of the fiscal imprudence of the past BJP government. Mohan Vishwa will come tell you about the ROI and the entire MOUs and all of that. But the state exchequer will tell you exactly how otherwise...
You already preempted what Mohan Vishwa is going to speak about.
Griha, because he's a chartered accountant, he will tell you the numbers that are preferable for him. But Griha, the fact is this. It should not inch opposition parties that proclaim to stand for the poor when these welfare schemes are targeting the poor. For example, the Shakti Yojana, the amount of criticism, but the positive externality of the transport departments finally making a profit and tourism department seeing a positive plus is something that we had seen. All these other schemes will not only increase spending, but this will basically help the poorest of the poor fight the inflationary forces that the center has done absolutely nothing about. If you do not believe me, come try to buy tomatoes in my state anywhere today and you will realize the reality.
Okay. Mohan Vishwa, since Aishwarya Mahadev already has told us what you're going to speak about, is that any different?
See, Griha, this is the problem with the Congress. What they do is they say that, if they give the money, people are going to spend the money in the economy and the money will come back and the economy will grow. This is the poorest theory which the world was not able to succeed in the past in many other countries. Forget about Karnataka, forget about India. To give an example, take an example of United States of America during COVID, where they transferred $5,000 to each and every household over there. Even then, the American economy was not able to recoup. Even today, Indian economy has grown faster than any other economy in the world. As far as the unemployment rate is concerned, let me tell you, Karnataka has the lowest unemployment rate. And the Karnataka has the third state in India which has the highest number of GSDP. And Karnataka's GST collections has doubled from past 3.5 years during our tenure. Money is over there. So the problem is Mr. Siddaramaiah, who is known or who calls himself as a finance minister who presented the budget for 14 times, is unable to manage, or is he not having any plan when they announce these kind of guarantees during their manifesto or during election campaign? What did he say? Within 24 hours of coming into power, they're going to, implement all those guarantee A, B, C, D, E, all those stuff. But today they're suffering like this. And let me tell you, my friend Aishwarya Mahadev said, she spoke about tomatoes. What about the power price rise made by state government in the state? Why she's not talking about that? Why, she's not talking about the excise duty, which is increased on the liquor in the state? Why she's not talking about the valuation of property, which is increased in the state for the sake of, increase in stamp and registration fees? Why she's not talking about the royalty, which is increased on the sand and the stone, which is used for the construction in the state? These kind of costs have also increased. For your information, from today onwards, the basic necessity of a poor, the milk per liter has been increased by 3 rupees. What she's telling now, she's speaking only about tomatoes. I can give you 100 of other stuff where Congress have increased when they're pooling the money by increasing the other taxes and other prices. Where are those money going to? Even after increasing those taxes, if the Congress is not able to fulfill the promises which they have given, means there is something seriously wrong as far as finance department is concerned. These kind of statements shouldn't be given. And also they say they don't have money for the development. And you said, as you rightly said, it's not only DK Shivakumar. During the day of presenting the budget by Siddaramaiah himself, we have an information that he himself briefed all the MLAs that, this year there will not be fund allocated to the respective constituency for the development. He himself have told way back. It's not new that Siddaramaiah has told.
Okay.
And today,
so
let me tell you one more
respond.
thing.
I'll let Aishwarya respond on the DK Shivakumar's statement, but let me first bring in Professor Arun Kumar on this. Professor Arun Kumar, how bankable is this tomato theory that the member of the Congress party is, the Congress spokesperson is talking about as far as the state of Karnataka is concerned? Because here the concern is not what the BJP is claiming, is the state's finance department who has in fact warned the state government of implementing the Gru Lakshmi scheme. They in fact talk about all the schemes on how this is going to be costing the exchequer over 45,000 crore rupees annually. So how do you see these promises that have been made to the people of Karnataka by the now government of Siddaramaiah in the state? Professor Arun.
I think we need to break down the expenditures. Some are public services that are essential. For instance, education, health, etc., very essential. Transportation, energy, etc., essential. For any civilized existence, these things are required.
Yeah.
Second is that when there is destitution, when people are very poor, then you need to actually see that they are able to survive. So therefore, given that, after the pandemic, the unorganized sector declined and has continued to decline, their incomes have gone down, unemployment there has gone up, and therefore they need support. And that's why I think unemployment support is required. And for women-headed families, support is required. So that's the second kind.
Okay.
Third kind of, which are not necessarily essential, that is where the government should not have gone in, because that actually poses a burden which actually the government may not be able to fulfill. However, I would like to say that it's all a question of prioritization of the government. Whatever tax revenue and non-tax revenue you collect, it comes into one common fund. Out of that, you can spend on different schemes depending on your political requirement, depending on what your political priorities are. So prioritization by the government is what is critical. Now, if the government is trying to fulfill the needs of the people, now it depends differently on different parties, how they would like to fulfill. And all over the country now it's happening. Why? Because people don't believe in the politicians. Politicians, the faith is gone, because the parties come, they promise all kinds of tall promises, and then they don't deliver. That's why now the public is demanding immediately, what are you going to give me? So therefore, all political parties in their manifestos are promising all kinds of things, which is what the Prime Minister has called reveries, but I would like to call them as, things that, may be required, may not be required. But, it's an incentive to the poor. And therefore, the question is that how does it impact the economy and the budget? Now, the budget, of course, will be impacted unless revenues are raised. There's no doubt about it. Your deficit will tend to rise if you have these expenditures. But then you have to make an attempt to try and raise revenues. And where do you raise revenues which will not be, bad for the poor people? That's direct taxes. So direct taxes in India, GDP ratio is very low. It's 6% of GDP, which is direct taxes. 11% is indirect taxes, which also falls on the poor. So we need to raise direct taxes, because in India we have very low direct taxes. The Prime Minister himself said only 1.5 crore people are effective taxpayers. So out of 140 crore, only 1.5 crore means only 1.1% of the population is effective taxpayer. This needs to be expanded by checking the black income generation, and at least 3% more could come in, and you could get at least 5 to 6% more direct tax GDP ratio if you could check the black income generation. If you could do that, then all the programs that are being now talked about, those could be funded, employment generation could be funded, etc.
Okay.
So in other words, the political will is required to tackle the black economy, raise direct taxes, so that we can fund for the poor people. And here also I'd say, if that kind of fund is available, it should go to education and health. It should go to employment generation. That will generate in the future more income generation. So that's the kind of reprioritization that's required.
All right. So, Mr. Gaura, let me bring you here. I want to understand this one aspect, this important point that Professor Arun Kumar has also made, that obviously the people are very disgruntled with the politicians and even any government dispensation in any state. So they want it easy, they want it as soon as possible. The accusation against the opposition in the state is that they are feeding into it. They are trying to go ahead and instigate the people over that very thing. That when is it going to happen? Since it's been promised by the Congress party, why has it not been done yet?
Well, thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk now. Anyway,
sorry, sir, there are too many speakers, so it's one by one.
No problem. I'm happy with the Chief Minister. Because he has got the feel for the people of the state, and he is feeling for the state. But at one point of time, he should have thought how this this freebies is going to hamper the economy of the state. And now he is struggling to accumulate the funds to give all these freebies, whatever now today he has. I think they have done for 200 watts of power free. All those things they are trying to do it, and now they are trying to register it. But their agenda was, the day we comes to the power, we will give, next day itself we will give do all the things. Now they are following all the formalities and all kinds of calculations. They are doing it now. because when at the cost of getting the power, they have promised it. Now they are really facing the problem. Of course, their thought may be good, but they are not making people of our state to earn by themselves. And when there is a exchequer burden on exchequer, about 56,000 crores of money has to spend on each year, they should have thought how I am going to make my people going to earn this money end of the day. So this is what lagging. Now it has hampered the developmental activity in the state of Karnataka. And of course, as I told you earlier in my speech, in my talk, that he is a good chief minister. I have got feel for the people. But what about the developmental activity? Developmental activity, if you are go on giving all 5 years, and our state will go down, economy will go down, and our GST collections will go down. Everything will go down. I know you are dependent on GST collections. I know, but what's happening? And you are trying to, squeeze other parts of the people, like who are in excise business, who are in petroleum business, who are in other business. They from there you are trying to squeeze. And you are squeezing.
But sir, there needs to be a certain process and certain time that needs to be given to the welfare measures to be implemented. But let me actually get Ms. Aishwarya to answer all of these queries and the allegations that you have put forth. Also, Mohan Vishwas. Aishwarya, do you think that the government in Karnataka is having to eat its own words by saying that, the moment we come into power, we are going to be implementing all of these welfare measures and people with Karnataka will be seeing this, and now they're not able to do it? And also the statement that's been oft quoted, of the Deputy Chief Minister himself stating that there is a deficit and that there needs to be some sort of fund extraction that needs to be done from other sources in order to fulfill these poll guarantees.
Griha, there are three parts and I'd like to answer all of them because a lot of the people on the debate have raised these questions. So let me first come down to what the JDS spokesperson said. Sir, was it fiscally prudent when your chief ministerial candidate, Mr. Kumaraswamy, had something called the Pancharatna Yatra with the 5 promises, where his wife, who was the sitting MLA of Ramnagara then, went on to tell women that we're going to waive away all your cooperative loans, so please go take as many loans as you want and we're going to come clear it. The cost of your 5 Pancharatna Yatras were going to be 80,000 crores, and when you were chief minister in 2018, you basically asked us and pushed us to waive close to 1 lakh crores of farmers' debt because you believed it was a commitment you had made. So it's the same commitment that my chief minister has made for the people of Karnataka to ensure their development. And for the fact that you go on to say people become lazy because of this is extremely shameful, because you're casting aspersions on the pride and the hardworking people of Karnataka, and that is extremely sad. Second, Griha, I will answer you and then I will go to Mr. Mohan Vishwa, is this fact of, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar talking about the lack of development this year, while the budget size is 3.27 lakh crores and these guarantees are only 44,000 crores in totality. Over 20 to 25,000 crores of all tender projects are being re-examined. I have brought this up time and time again. And Mr. D.K. Shivakumar has been very honest, because under the BJP's regime, you had close to 20 to 25,000 crores worth of tenders, some which even the Election Commission and the Supreme Court stopped, because you did it right after the code of conduct. And this is something that is also stopping my finances. And third, I will answer Mr. Mohan Vishwa, because I want to ask the BJP, do you really want us to be like your leaders? The problem is damned if you do, damned if you don't. The day we came into power, a cabinet resolution was formed saying we will implement these 5 guarantees. Boo-hoo that we're not like your leaders that have been promising us 15 lakhs and Achhi Din and farmers' income to be doubled and MSP to be 1.5 times. None of which you have done. If you want to come down to Karnataka from all your manifestos, from waiving farmers' loans to basically giving 10,000 rupees subsidies to cooperatives to free laptops to students, there is an entire list. But Mohan Vishwa, why does it hurt you so much that the poor of my state are basically being prioritized? 3 rupees of that milk, Griha, they're talking about rise in milk prices, right?
Yes.
All 3 of those rupees are going back to farmers that are distressed because of the change in the crop pattern. You're talking about electricity. One day before my government was voted in or came into power, the central government and the state government basically allowed and sanctioned for the electricity to be hiked because they obviously know they weren't coming back to power. So we would have to deal with it. The fact today is the entire opposition is morally bankrupt on any issue.
Ball is in your court, Mohan Mishra. You have 30 seconds to respond to all of the allegations that have been made, including the tenders, including pros of tenders that have been formulated and implemented.
I would like to inform my Congress spokesperson that, poor means poor family, not only poor woman or poor wife. What they're doing now, they're increasing other prices. They're taking the money from husband's pocket and they're giving it to the wife's pocket. Is it called as poor upliftment?
Because obviously women owning any power is so painful for you to understand.
This will be a trouble statement, Mohan Mishra, if you make that, because we're talking about empowerment of women also. But quickly, just respond to what Aishwarya
said. What I'm telling is, if they're supporting a poor family, let them support the entire poor family. Why they are taking out money from the same poor family and giving it to the same poor family?
Okay, Mohan, I'm really sorry. I'm short on time. I have to wrap this. Thank you so much, all my guests, for joining me on the broadcast. It's time for me to wrap Viewpoint. My colleague Toya is up next with Plain Speak.
Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Toya Singh. This is a story where we take a look at all of the day's stories through the lens of just the facts. For our first story today, we're looking at the dramatic developments that seemingly continue to play out in Haryana. They've resulted already in the deaths of 5 people. On Monday, communal clashes broke out. This was during a procession that was taken out by the VHP and the Bajrang Dal that resulted in the death of at least 5 people.